Two of the most notable Major League Baseball players to have ever been banished from the game of baseball are Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose. But did you know there are actually over 40 players that have been banned? Now, not all the players were permanently banned, as some managed to get reinstated. Others, however, remain banished to this day. Nonetheless, many of their stories that led them to becoming banished are quite intriguing, some highly controversial, and even a few will leave you shaking your head in disbelief. So on this week's episode, which is part one of a two-part series, we're going to take a walk back through baseball history and tell you a little something about each of the players who have been temporarily or permanently banished from Major League Baseball. And we're going to make a bet that you haven't heard about all of these. So keep it right here on History and Relics. Thomas Deaver, Ed Duffy, and William Wansley of the New York Mutuals were banned in 1865 for associating with known gamblers. However, Deaver was reinstated later that same year, while Duffy and Wansley were reinstated in 1870. John Radcliffe, a shortstop with the Philadelphia Whites in 1874, was expelled after attempting to bribe an umpire with $175 to help the Chicago White Stockings win. Radcliffe was blacklisted, but later reinstated in 1875. George Bechtel of the Louisville Grays attempted to conspire with other teammates, including Jim Devlin, to intentionally lose a game for $500 in 1876. Devlin turned Bechtel in, and the team permanently ousted him. But then, Jim Devlin reappeared in 1877 along with teammates George Hall, Alan Nichols, and Bill Craver, when it came out that these guys conspired to throw two games in the Louisville Grays scandal. Despite there being a lack of evidence against Craver, he refused to cooperate with the investigation and joined his three other teammates in being permanently banned. Oscar Walker, a center fielder and first baseman who played for 5 teams in 6 seasons between 1875 and 1885, was banned in 1877 for contract jumping, meaning that he signed to play with one team while still under contract with another. Now remember, this was some 100 years before the advent of free agency in sports. Walker was reinstated in 1879. Lip Pike played in the outfield for an array of teams between 1871 and 1887. He is known for being one of the first great sluggers in the game. He led pro leagues in home runs 4 times. But by 1881, when he was playing with the Worcester Ruby Legs, he fell off his game. In fact, he played so poorly that it spawned suspicions that eventually got him blacklisted. However, he was later reinstated in 1883. Then comes Richard Higham, a former outfielder turned umpire who was banned in 1882 for helping to throw a Detroit Wolverines game. Detroit's owner hired a private investigator who found Higham affiliated with known gamblers. To date, Higham is the only umpire banished from baseball for life. Joseph Marie Creamer III, a New York Giants physician, was banned from baseball in 1908 for attempting to bribe an umpire $2,500 to conspire against the Chicago Cubs during a playoff game. Manager and coach Jack O'Connor and Harry Howell of the St. Louis Browns were banned in 1910 for trying to fix the outcome of the heated and highly controversial 1910 American League batting title for Cleveland Indians member Napoleon Lajoie against Detroit Tigers player Ty Cobb. Each appeared to win the title, well, depending upon which paper you read at the time. But in 1981, the Sporting News found that a couple of Cobb's hits were double counted, and subtracting those out, Lajoie was the actual winner. Philadelphia Phillies owner Horace Fogel was banished in 1912 for accusing St. Louis Cardinals manager Roger Bresnahan of playing a weak lineup against the New York Giants in order to help his friend, Giants manager John McGraw, win the pennant. After the Phillies lost a doubleheader to the Giants, Fogel publicly declared that the league officials and umpires colluded to fix the pennant race. Joe Harris, the Cleveland Indians first baseman, opted to play for an industrial team after the regular season ended in both 1920 and 1921. Because this violated the reserve clause of his Indians contract, he was expelled, but later reinstated by Landis in 1922, due in part to his military service during World War I. Harris went on to play for the Red Sox, where he homered in his first at-bat in the 1925 World Series, the first player to ever do so. Hal Chase was playing for the New York Giants when he was banned in 1921 for associating with gamblers and betting on teams. He had been accused of fixing games as far back as 1910. His behavior caused him to get passed up for managerial roles and later spawned his trade to the Giants from the Reds in 1918. By 1919, evidence of bribing other players surfaced, which caused Chase to be blacklisted in both the National and American leagues. Landis' declaration after the Black Sox scandal that no one who bet on baseball would ever be allowed to play sealed Chase's fate in being forever banned. Heine Zimmerman, another New York Giants player who ineffectively chased White Sox's Eddie Collins across home plate during Game 6 of the 1917 World Series, which caused the series-winning run, found himself having to deny having helped throw the series. That was only the beginning, as other corrupt activity allegations swirled, leading to an unofficial ban, which included being benched and sent home. Manager John McGraw would later testify that Zimmerman conspired to fix games. His banishment was formalized in 1921, after Landis' Black Sox declaration that no one who bet on baseball would ever be allowed to play again. Landis banned a total of 19 people during his tenure, which ran from November 12, 1920 through November 25, 1944, more than all of his successors combined. 16 of them remain banned to this day. The very first player banned by Landis directly was Eugene Paulette, a Philadelphia Phillies star who was banished in March 1921 for associating with known gamblers in the prior season and not cooperating with Landis' investigation on the matter. The Black Sox scandal involved 8 members of the Chicago White Sox who were accused of intentionally losing the 1919 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for money from a gambling syndicate led by Arnold Rothstein. Despite all 8 men being acquitted in a public trial in August 1921, Judge Landis permanently banned all of them. The Baseball Hall of Fame would later expand upon this to include that the act of being banished would also come to mean being banned from consideration for the Hall. The 8 Chicago White Sox players that we're speaking of are Eddie Seacott, Lefty Williams, Chick Gandel, Fred McMullen, Swede Risberg, Happy Felch, Buck Weaver, and Shoeless Joe Jackson. Moving on, we have Joe Gideon of the St. Louis Browns, who was later banished in 1921 for allegedly conspiring with the gamblers tied to the Black Sox scandal. Then we have Benny Koff, who was referred to as the Ty Cobb of the Federal League for his dominant hitting and base stealing. He was playing for the New York Giants in 1920 when they traded him to Toronto of the International League. He was slated to make his return to the Giants in 1921, but in December 1920 he was implicated in an auto theft with his brother and 2 of their employees who ran a small dealership. The accusation included Koff and his employees stealing and later selling a car, to which Koff vehemently denied. The matter went to trial in May 1921. Koff argued that he had been deceived by his employees and also provided proof of being out with his wife during the time of the alleged theft. In less than an hour, the jury acquitted Koff. However, Landis still banned Koff from baseball due to concerns he had about Koff's character and reputation that could taint baseball's integrity. Despite being banned, Koff later served as a baseball scout for over 22 years. Lee McGee, the first major leaguer to ever record 5 straight hits, was playing for the Chicago Cubs in 1919, but was released by the team before the start of the 1920 season. McGee filed a lawsuit against the team for lost wages and bonuses in 1920, but testimony revealed his dealings in throwing games and collecting on bets. McGee lost his case, and Landis banned him for life in 1921. Well, that's going to conclude Part 1 of this 2-part series. Part 2 will be coming up next in a separate presentation, so be on the lookout for it and be sure you don't miss it. There's more fascinating stories on the way. In the meantime, let us know your thoughts on these players. Do you agree with the final disposition they received? Should more be reinstated? Are there others that should be called into question? Well, leave us a comment and let us know. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our program. If you like our content, we ask that you give us a thumbs up, a like, share with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so you always know when our new content is published. And all of this costs nothing, but means a lot to us and keeps us growing. You may also leave us a tip if you choose. The address is provided here on your screen, and a link is provided in the description area below. So until next time, everyone, this one is history.